Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind podcast, episode 80 with Bob and Hilary. An exciting episode this week. We are talking where can property development take you? And we're going to go through some of the people that have been students of ours, where they've gone with it, where Bob went with property development, perhaps where I've gone with property development. There are so many options once you become educated in property development. You're going to learn a lot. So let's jump on into this episode 80. Hey, welcome to episode 80. Where can property development take you? With my special co-host now.
I've been elevated.
Yeah,
Thanks.
well, you were a guest and then we've decided that we're hosting it together.
Oh.
Because we were anyway, Bob.
Yeah, there's still only one boss though. We know who that is.
You?
That'll be the day.
Okay, so, you're saying I'm the boss.
Oh, I've seen your new cap.
Yes.
What's it got written on it?
Boss.
Yeah, is it a Hugo Boss cap?
It's just the
Or
colour I
did you
liked.
have it personally embroidered with the word boss on it just to remind me? What is it?
Well, the colour looked great and it just happened to have... It is a Hugo Boss hat.
It's a great cap.
It just happened to have boss on it.
Yeah.
But I think it confuses people. They think I'm in charge.
Oh, I don't think people will be too confused about that. It is episode 80 after all. I think they've worked it out.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about where property development can take you. Before we do, though,
Yes.
giving away a copy of Property Millionaires Exposed. Of course, Bob's page starts at 121 for those interested in developing, but there are plenty of other strategies that you might want to look through and go, nah.
Yeah, it's an interesting read.
Yes, it is an interesting read. And there's some interesting characters on there.
Yep.
Got the lovely Jo Badello. She's written a chapter in there.
She's there.
From Property Women.
Yep.
Bernadette Jensen.
Bernadette C. Yeah.
A few other people.
Others.
You would say their names.
A plethora of people.
I love that word. So we're giving this book away today to Ben Hefner Roper.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
I didn't
I
realise.
know Hugh Hefner. Well, I don't know him. Heard about him.
Do you think he's related?
Well, I don't know. Hugh's probably got a few relatives.
Oh, I bet he probably has got a few relatives, if we could call them relatives.
Not suggesting that case, though. But, yeah, young man, inspired. I think he inspired you to...
Write this podcast.
Yeah.
Or come up with the concept of it. He wrote us a fabulous email. Thanks, Ben. And we're going to answer sort of some questions that you asked even. So how good's that? So, Bob.
Yep.
Grabbing out my note page. Where can property development take you? Now, let's be careful here because...
okay.
Okay. Well, actually, before we even get into that, it's Christmas week.
It is. Yay, hey, Merry Christmas
Merry
almost to
Christmas.
everybody. Well, depending when they're watching or listening, of course.
If
Could
you-
be before or after.
It could be. And if you watch it live, you'll be having... It will be Christmas Day to you.
Wow,
Or close
that's
to.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, so Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all.
Yeah. A great time to reflect on the year. And I know everybody's saying that, but if you've got some time off, it is a good time to think, yeah, I had a good year, or this is how I might roll with next year, might do things differently.
Yeah, and even today might give you some good ideas.
Yes, today may give you some great ideas.
Longer term ones, maybe.
Correct. Good thinking. Good spotting.
Yeah, so Christmas. Look, there's not going to be much under the tree. I hope you're not a little bit disappointed.
Well, I did notice there is a huge amount of presents, and I think there's like one with my name on, and I don't think it's from you.
Oh.
No.
You got your present early yesterday. You insisted. Well,
I didn't insist.
you insisted on getting your main present early.
It's pretty
which
hard.
was what? Are you going to tell everybody or not?
I got a surfboard.
New surfboard. Yeah.
And I went for a surf, if you can call it that. It was more about the fun event, and it was fun though. Oh my gosh, it was fun.
Yeah. So there's some other small ones there, but that is the big one.
Yeah, so anybody, just be careful if you know I'm out there. I'm just a bit of a rookie, but it was so much fun. I went out with my daughter. Wow. And she knows what she's doing and I don't.
Oh, you'll get there. You're a great swimmer. That's a good start.
I used to surf years and years ago, but not that well
You
either.
were a surf lifesaver, if I'm not wrong.
And surf lifesaver, yeah, I used to do that too.
It's different from being a surfboard rider. I know you did a lot of paddling and all that sort of stuff.
Oh my gosh, my arms were so
surf
sore.
lifesavers do.
Yes. Oh. Anyway, you've got heaps of presents under the tree, by the way.
I know, I've noticed.
Yeah, so many.
Yep.
Okay.
On with it. Let's
On with
get
it.
into it.
Merry Christmas, everybody, and we hope that you have a fun, festive, food-filled family time if that's what you're after.
Yep,
We'll be heading to the beach.
we will.
Yes, we will. Alrighty. So, Bob, Where can property development take you? Should we start with a couple of students that immediately came to mind who came and did our mentoring, and from the mentoring got jobs as
well, in the industry,
in the development,
in the corporate world, you might say.
They did,
in
both
the
of them.
property development industry, anyway. Yeah, look, that's not.
First names Liam and Mark, and they are of recent times. Yeah,
good friends of ours, of course. As is everybody who does the mentoring program. Look, I don't think either of them fully intended that.
Neither.
When they joined.
I was working with them, Bob. Neither had that as their outcome. Both of them wanted to transition into full-time property developers for themselves. That's what they wanted.
Yeah. So Mark had a background in marketing, yeah, and in the what's the industry? You know, like hotels and casinos, all that. There's a name.
Hospitality, or I don't know if it's hospitality.
Not
no,
quite
you're right.
hospitality, but he had a background in that.
Yes.
And then he worked for a big brewery in the marketing role.
He worked for Coke for a while too.
The world's
Coca-Cola.
biggest soft drink manufacturer for a while. So yeah, very much in the marketing role in those industries, but wanted to transition into property development.
And he'd been an investor for a while too. So he'd been involved in and probably done a few renos, I think, from memory.
Yeah, but took that step into property development.
He did.
But you spent a lot of time with him early. No real dream at that time to go into the corporate world of property development.
No.
Just do his own thing. The good thing is, though, as you know, because we caught up with him, he is working as a general manager in I'll say a commercial development company, but they do primarily industrial and upmarket industrial. They do industrial estates, obviously, I'll call them fancy sheds for want of a better term.
When we were in his state, he drove us around and showed us the work that they were doing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
isn't
and
it?
they've got
Pretty
a big
amazing.
government job at the moment where I think they might even be joint venturing with the government on a very large rolling out project. And he's the general manager of that company. But the good part about it is that Mark can still do his own projects if he wants, and has in recent times. But also he can invest into the company's projects on a joint venture basis, which is what he's doing. And so not only is he the general manager of this company, but he's investing in the projects personally of that company, on a share basis, which is absolutely fantastic. So, you might say the best of both worlds, if that's what you want to do. It's not what everybody wants to do.
I think what we're pointing out is as the opportunity came to him because he'd gone through the mentoring program, and even the guy that runs the company,
his CEO.
His CEO.
I've spoken to him a few times about
things.
Yeah,
we caught up with him as well.
Yeah,
so that
almost felt like signing him up to the mentoring program. He used to ring me up and we'd have discussions about different things, and I think I've given him a couple of really good contacts in the construction side of legal and so forth. Yeah, so great, tremendous, and Mark's loving life.
Yes, and what a life change just by choosing to sign up and just get educated and have those conversations with me and you, how to move forward and how to make life change.
But as you said, he never would have cracked that role had he not had done the mentoring program and built up that knowledge base, and having done his own Resi project from there as well. So.
And when you think about it, I think what we were alluding to is that he didn't need to go to university to get that job, because that was the question we were asked. If you want to get into those bigger roles, how do you get to there without having to go to university and get yourself a degree?
Yeah. And look, with the really big development companies, probably Lendlease and Mirvac, it would be hard to crack a job without a degree, because that's pretty much where they go, and they train you their way. The big corps, they like to get somebody who's at least got a degree. Not that you necessarily know a lot about property development, as I found out talking to a lot of people who have degrees. But it's a good start in the corporate world. They train them in-house, and they start as like junior project managers or junior development managers, and that's fine. Look, if that's what you want to do, if you want to work for one of the big corporations in property and property development, then you probably do these days need to get a degree. But there's a lot of smaller, really active property development companies who are more interested in people's potential and ability rather than some letters after their name.
Because really it's about, when you say ability, it's also about attitude. Because you know what they say, we hire on ability, or people hire on ability, but they fire on attitude. But somebody with a great attitude and a bit of nous, a bit of tenacity, someone who's prepared to learn, can go miles. You don't necessarily have to have that formal education. The other person and these were just quick off the cuff people, so it's not like we had to go searching, was Liam.
Oh, Liam. Well, yeah, that's a very recent one. This year, Liam took up a role in another state, so he moved. And same thing. I mean, you've done a lot of work with Liam, as I have. He didn't enter the mentoring program with that intention.
No.
He entered into it to do property developments, to become a property developer, and he is now a property developer. He's doing property development. Yeah, but I think there was a contact that he had in a state as well, somebody he knew, and he wanted to get out of his corporate non-property role that he had at the time, which was loosely involved in property, but, not directly, and not property development. So that was his desire, and he ended up having a discussion with somebody who runs I call it a smaller boutique property development company.
They've got a lot of in-house stuff, Bob. They had their own builders. They had a whole lot of in-house going on.
They do their own construction, so they're not just a pure developer. They do construction as well, which is good, because that's opening him up, as you say, in-house to construction as well as property development. But he was hired on. Initially it started as a contact, which was great, but on his ability as well, on his knowledge. They weren't going to just pick somebody up off the street for that sort of role.
Just being a builder or something, that just wouldn't have gone down. They needed somebody who understood fully development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's doing his own, same thing, he's working within that company, working there, but doing his own private development as well. And they've allowed him to use some of the resources of that development company in terms of the construction and so forth. So he's in a sweet spot, not one he intended.
No, that's the thing. It's not necessarily what people intend to do. It was definitely, his intention was definitely to get out of the day job. But I think that probably went faster than he thought it may have, or because I suppose, like many people, they think we'll do a few developments, we sort of build up a bit of a war chest, which is the word that you use, and then be able to carry on without having to have the day job. And it just, what's it sound? Oh, it's the sound of Liam landing on his feet. And both of those two go, and that's just, really quickly off the cuff. And I suppose we can't just use, it's not always just males that this happens to. When I was thinking of where other places people had gone to through, having property development education, good education, I'm going to add excellent education, Property Mastermind education, a lot of women who have perhaps finished their job to start a family, and perhaps the husband's still working. Well, I think in every case I'm thinking of, the husbands are still working, and not everyone's a stay-at-home mum, and some people are, and some people like that sort of thing, and some get bored. And you've had a lot of women, haven't we, or gone through and then start property developing on the side, while the kids are sleeping before they know it. Yeah, and they have done very well, almost superseded the husband's income.
In nearly every case, certainly on an income basis, they started off like leaning on the husband a bit as they got into property development. Not too far down the track, they're earning a lot more than their husbands.
Well, they're bringing more into the household income, I suppose.
I suppose it's not a competition who earns the most. But
it starts out as I might just get into property, and before you know it...
Yeah, I mean, you can make a couple of $100 out of a small project, very part-time.
A couple of $100?
Did I say 100?
Yeah, you said a couple of $100,000.
Make it a couple of $100,000, sorry. And so it's not hard to overcome even a decent income with a part-time property development income. That's what I'm saying. And
I think what we might be saying there, Bob, is there is that... Oh, God, crikey, I can't believe I'm going to say that. Here, are we ready? Hold on. We might get some flack on this one.
Oops.
They have a lot of spare time. They actually don't. There's no spare time when you've got small children. So they must be incredibly organised women, because...
You have to be when you've got kids.
You do have to be when you've got children. And they must just do it either at the end of the day or when the children have a sleep or whatever that is.
Or if you're lucky enough and for a bit of time at daycare or school. Once they hit school, I suppose you got that, that period of time.
I think the ones we're referring to, the few women that we were thinking about, well, one was Anna Kate that we interviewed way back in episode, was that in the 40s or something? She's had 4 children, hasn't she?
Yep.
The other person is Juliet, who we're interviewing in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we are.
And she too had 4 children.
Yep.
Small children. But these women are machines. But
well, yeah, they're very determined. They know what they want. They've set a plan and they've had to sacrifice and, make the time for it. Often it's when everyone's gone to bed in some cases, doing research.
Well, when I spoke to Juliet, Bob, a couple of weeks ago on the phone, we were speaking about something else. And I didn't realise she had 4 children. I was just so inspired. She just said to me, this is how she's going forward, moving ahead now. And I was like, wow, that's so exciting. I said, can we interview you for the podcast? She said, hell yes. But I was just inspired by somebody who, 4 children, been very successful, made a lot of money. And let's just go, it's not always about the money, but it's what the money does, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that this has been able to change people's lives, employing staff now, got a few people working under her. There's all of that.
Yep.
So that's pretty exciting. I can't wait to share her journey.
Well, it's coming up.
So that's just another person that that have done changes. I think we've had a couple of men, so we talked about a couple of women. But what about, Bob, even the people that join us, and this is the common thread we get a lot, I'd say probably 80%, maybe, I'm guessing, want to transition and become full-time developers. Would you say it's 80%? Especially in the mentoring program?
Yeah, probably even higher.
Yeah. Eventually want to not have a day job.
Yep. And we meet people who unfortunately hate their day job.
Yes.
And they want out as soon as possible. We have others that, and a small minority, as you said, who want to keep the day job because it's almost like their calling in life to be that, whatever it is. It could be a doctor, I don't know, whatever it is. But certainly develop on the side. But a majority do want to eventually. And why wouldn't you when you can earn so much more money in working less hours a week from that job and be in control? Not having a boss, not having to. Even travel into the city every day. For some people, that's an ordeal in and out of the city. They can spend, easily spend 3 hours doing that. So, there's a lot of great reasons why people do, and that's why probably, at least 90%, I'd say, probably do want to transition out of the day job.
It's ironic you say doctor. We just had a doctor join the mentoring program because they don't want to be a doctor anymore. That's pretty funny.
Well, we've got a couple of engineers in the mentoring program who don't want to be engineers anymore too.
Yes, that's crazy. So people that have transitioned over and become successful developers, so many.
Out of all walks of life, all
so
backgrounds,
many.
everything you could name of.
Men and women.
There's been a lot of people through our mentoring program over the years. We've been going a while, and it's hard to think of an occupation that hasn't been represented. For everybody I can think of one fellow whose sole purpose was to get out of carpet laying. It's all he ever knew. He started carpet laying at 15.
It's tough on your knees, isn't it?
Oh, well, his knees were wrecked.
Yeah.
He used to just about cry every day going to work. So that was a pretty good reason to get out, And that's just a strange example. We have professional people, we have doctors and dentists and fair sprinkling of pharmacists. Engineers, we've had architects, we've had big builders, we've had
caregivers, nurses.
Just labourers, people in and out of the building industry, just everyday people with, economics degrees and business degrees.
And no degrees at all.
People that left in year 10, didn't even finish year 10, everything,
But what was... So I think we've just covered off that that the amount of people have been huge and there's no great... we can't tell where they come from. You just can't tell.
They've got a common thread, obviously.
Excited about property development.
They see property development as their future, as a way of making good money, getting in control of their financial future, in control of their life, getting paid what you're worth.
A lot of people are still being paid and still want to transition off. I can think of, obviously, a specialist doctor who's just transitioning. Even Jay, he had a very good job.
Yeah,
he wanted to to come over to developing full-time, and now he is.
Yep.
Checked out his project yesterday.
Yeah, it's coming along well.
But And what I really love as well is when you see a couple, when they have a plan, which is the next podcast we put out will be, we're talking with John and Taz, and they are now both in the industry. John came over first, he became the full-time developer, and then eventually Taz was able to give up her job, and they're both, it's a couple business, and it's very exciting.
Oh, it is, yeah, can't wait for that interview.
But, so it's not necessarily replacing money, it's lifestyle, it's the lifestyle that it gives you, isn't it?
Well, if you got more money than you previously had from your day job and you're working a lot less hours, to me that is lifestyle. And you can define it however you like, but to have a good lifestyle you need money and you need time. There's plenty of people make good money out of their jobs and they've got no spare time whatsoever. That's not a lifestyle. Or plenty of people have got lots of time, might
and
be
no
on the
money.
dole, no money. Well, that's not a lifestyle. So you've got to have both. It's not easy when you exchange time for money in a day job, if we can call it that. It's not easy to have both.
No.
But that's what property development gives you.
Well, what was your journey? Because you started out, as we know, it was an accident, or most people know, the car accident, a year in hospital, losing everything, living with mummy and daddy, mummy making you sandwiches, probably.
Well, that was still nice.
You loved mummy looking after you, but needed to start again, realised it was property development, got into property, and then started doing a few for yourself. You transitioned over to the corporate world. What was that transition and why the move back?
Well, I had been a small developer, as it is when you start, for about 8 or 9 years. And I also moved. So I was living on the Gold Coast and my little ones were starting to reach school age.
Medallion, shirt open, that sort of Gold Coast look. Did you have that going on, Bob?
No. I did work for a guy once who did have the big hairy chest and the a hand like a kilo of pork sausages and the big gold medallion, the white shoes.
Nice.
Ah, yeah, the
white
blown...
shoes are back. You've got white shoes.
Yeah, well, yeah, Lacoste, but a bit different. Yeah, so I was a small developer and doing my own thing and doing okay, and I had this desire where I wanted to experience bigger development. I'd read I used to read mags and look at newspapers and about the big companies doing stuff, and I thought I'd love to have a crack at that. I'd love to have a go at the corporate world, and have a go at bigger projects. That's really what I wanted to do, and so it coincided with moving from the Gold Coast back to Brisbane when the kids were just about reaching school age, and that's how I did it. And I made direct approaches to the big companies. I didn't go through executive search or anything. I just made direct contacts. I did a CV. I was just chasing interviews, and in those days, you could get a role in a big corporation without a degree. A lot of it was based on experience.
You told us that story a couple of podcasts ago. How you got that role, how that guy gave you, because again, you went that whole mentality, the way we run this business, over and above, over and above what's expected, and you kept going back to that guy. And
I went to the biggest companies. I went to directly to the people. I researched who they were, approached them directly, and didn't let up. Got an interview, didn't quite have a role, but found me quite interesting. But remember, I was way younger than a lot of the people in that industry.
Yes.
Anyway, I obviously made an impression. I did a little bit of side consulting work for them. I think they just tested me to see if I knew what I said I knew, and a role became available, and that was quite strange. It was the biggest development company in Australia. It was a state management role, and I've gone straight into it, where two other people at that same level were 20 years older than me and had been in the corporate world their whole life. So Warren took a big risk with me in a way,
but
it
paid off.
Well, it paid off. Yeah, it did for both of us.
But Bob, so from there, what was behind the decision to come back to doing your own development?
Well, I took a couple of corporate roles in that industry at that state or national level, but I got tired after a while. I mean, I'd achieved what I set out to do. I'd been involved in big projects, different projects. Biggest thing I worked on was a 67-storey office block in the CBD, and so I'd done what I achieved to do, but I really got a bit tired of boardrooms. Boardroom meetings and just the...
It's all in the name, really, boardroom, because they're boring.
Well, yeah. Some people like it if you're a dyed-in-the-wool corporate person and that's your life and that's what you want to be. But remember, I was an entrepreneurial property developer who stepped into the corporate world.
Yes.
And now it was time to step out. And just even like on projects, getting approvals, they have to go through, you've got to present at the board, you've got to... And, some of those big corporations don't move fast. By the time they get to make a decision, the deal could have gone. It's just... And just the whole big corp stuff not being in control. I always had a boss. Even if I was national state manager, I always had a boss. Somewhere there was a boss. And that's good.
You've still got a boss, don't you?
Well, yeah, I do. Nothing's changed. But anyway, it was my time, and so I stepped back out of that corporate world. And
how did it feel when you stopped? You could always say trading
great.
your time for money and coming back. How did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, I was on a pretty good
wicket
on far as salaries, but I also did some small projects of my own. Everybody who was in the development companies, as development managers, we always did our own small projects, and nobody really cared about that. So it wasn't like I didn't do anything for myself, but yeah, it was time, and when it's time, and when it's time, it's time. So yeah, back into... How did I feel? Well, I felt great again, back 100% in control of things, making my own decisions, therefore faster decisions. I have to go through boards to get permission on things. And yeah, it was really good to be back. So self-employed and getting paid what you're worth.
Yeah, I think, and that just comes back to the whole where can property development take you. It gave you options. I'm just hearing your choices were, I'll do this by myself. You know what? I'll go try doing it over there. You would have learned a huge amount doing the things that you've done because you've developed and like all of the states understand so much. And then coming back to developing for yourself, while developing on your own, but more full-time, more full-on on your own.
Yeah, so I jumped back in with... I took a couple of consultancy roles just to give myself income from day one, and for a couple of other developers who were doing developments, but then immediately started looking for my own deals.
Yeah, okay, that would have been pretty exciting.
Yeah, but you've got your own journey, of course.
Yeah,
different from mine, but tell
mine was probably more out of survival and necessity, I suppose, or maybe coming off where property development has taken me. Obviously, the journey was, like many, started in renovations because it's something I could do by myself, always being a single mum.
You started off... when you start off very young, when did you buy your first property?
I was 18 when I bought my first
18, my God. I was a baby at 18. I mean, nothing...
I was still a baby, but I bought my first property then, and that was my first reno.
Oh, okay.
Knocked out walls.
Not just an investment property, a reno.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a reno, and learned a lot. Learned how to do all sorts of things. That was back in the days of wallpaper, which comes and goes.
Learning by doing and asking.
Oh my goodness, that vinyl, the on the ground in the kitchen. I remember my friends came around. We were all so young. We were like ripping
chipping
it
away.
Yeah, it was crazy using like egg slices and all sorts. But that journey, for me, like when I learned that I could sell a property. I was just so young. I just bumbled through it because I'm off a farm and my family they never really got into property as much as I did.
Only farms.
Yeah, they just did farming. They were all just farmers.
Their property they bought was farms.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and
they dealt in
most of them did very well out of it. Well, they all did. I was just not. I wasn't designed to be milking cows or growing chickens. It's not my buzz. It always nightmare. I did my fair share of milking cows when I was younger, but. Yeah. So I think that...
So I think working on that farm gave you a strong work ethic.
Yeah, my father had.
And one of 7 children.
Yeah.
Like, no specials there.
No, you just did what you had to do. But I just learned on that first property, and then I just kept buying and renovating and selling. It was just an interesting journey till I did one subdivision I was involved with, and then... Once over here, now more into development on a very regular basis, and now the capital raising queen of Australia, I'm almost going to call myself.
You've done about, God knows, probably 3 million in a month or something, I don't know, whatever it is.
Had a busy month, it's been fabulous. But that's been my journey. But I think for me, where did it take me? It took me to being able to, give my son the deposit for his first house.
Yep.
And I did give, but there was some stuff that went on with that. But get both my children into their first property. And I always feel like that's been quite a good thing for me.
That's a good legacy.
It is a good legacy because it has been, it's a difficult time. And it's not a huge leg up, but it's definitely a leg up. And then I think it just allowed me a lifestyle, really. That's what property has done for me, allowed the lifestyle. So where has it taken me? Taken me not to be a slave. I've always been self-employed. So, not really ever had a boss. I don't do that well with that sort of thing.
No, I have tried, but no, I agree. It didn't really work.
What, bossing me around?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, Bob, if we were to sum up, I think if we go back to the original, it's like, where can property development take you?
Yeah. Well,
it can take you wherever you want. I mean, Bob's journey has been amazing. Where do you think it took you? I mean, it took you on a wild ride, really, didn't it?
yes, yeah. It's really exposed me to everything in property.
Like, who don't you know? Like, what don't you? You know so many people. You've got so many connections. You just...
Yeah, well, my whole career is based on connections and meeting people and, not networking as such, but just connections I've built up over a long period of time. But, look, there's so many success stories. I mean, you see them out there, people that have transitioned out within our community.
Yeah.
We could name a heap of them, but would probably take another podcast to name them all.
Yeah, it can do so much for you, and it's really up to you. And I suppose at the end of the day, I'd just take it back to, it's all in how you choose to see things, as in the glass half empty, the glass half full. Sione Kipu, stop it. I know you're laughing while you're listening to this one.
The overflowing glass.
Oh, he poured me a glass of water the other day and I said it's half empty and he goes, oh, you're one of those people, as a joke. But
I had to talk to him about the glass half full. It's my favourite.
Yes.
Who wants half a glass? And we went on to the full glass and then the overflowing glass. So I had that conversation with him.
Well, explain that one now, Bob. It's actually quite a good one.
Oh, well, I used to do this often at workshops and I'd have half a glass of water and I'd say,
everyone else will be doing this soon, by the way.
How do you see this glass? And of course, everybody's awake up and they say, I said, who sees this as a half empty glass? And nobody puts their hand up. What do you see this as a half full glass? Everyone puts their hand up. And I said, my goodness, why would you be happy with half of anything? Yes. Who wants half a glass? So then I'd pour some water in. I'd say, isn't this a lot better than the half a glass now? And he'd go, oh, yeah, full glass, half a better. I said, no, that's not nearly good enough. And then I'd drink some of it. And I'd say, well, what do you got now? And you got 3/4 of a glass, and if I keep drinking, it'll go empty. So no, this is what you want. And then I'd pour some in and drink it. I said, what you want is the ever full glass, the glass that never is anything but full.
Yeah.
And then how do you do that? And then I'd go on and explain how property development can be that, and how you can, out of that overflow, that extra, how you can do not just a lot for yourself, but for others, that people that are sort of disposed that way. So that was the story of the half glass, half full.
So I'm hearing, even with that, if we go back to our where can it take you, depending on you, if you see opportunity, if you're that sort of person, if you're open to it, property development can take you absolutely anywhere. And if you feel like you're not that person, that you don't get opportunities, that things don't come to you, well, you actually have to make things happen. Things won't happen. They just don't happen for you. Well, they do, but you're making your own luck on the way. You're not lucky. You make your own luck.
There's a luck component, but it's the small component.
Yeah. It's the connections you've made in the past. It's how you are as a person. It's how you see life. You walk down the street with a smile on your face, people smile back. You walk down the street with no smile on your face, they don't. So depending on how your day was, well, everyone was happy today. Maybe you were smiling first.
Yeah.
It's just how you see the world. So it probably all comes back to, it's a bit of a mindset thing, like life.
Embrace it.
Embrace it. Well, I think we're done there, Bob.
Okay.
I think we can call episode 80.
So where could property take you, Hilary? Tell me.
Anywhere you want.
Yeah.
It's just your choice. It is your decision. It's the end of the year now. You can make the decision today that property development is going to take you to where is it going to take you? It can go wherever you want to go. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
All right, absolutely, 100%, Paul.
I had to drop that in.
Oh, you had to. Yeah. So, well, maybe a great time for reflection. If you are thinking about education, check out our website, propertymastermind.com.au, if you want to have a chat with me about what we've got to offer, how we can make you successful, like one of the people we've talked about today, and the hundreds, possibly thousands of people that we don't mention. Reach out to us, and you can be one of our next success stories. You could be one of the people choosing the lifestyle you want, letting property development take you to an amazing place.
Great vehicle.
Great vehicle. All right. See you in 2023.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.